Hello everyone, welcome to MCA Accounting Series. In today's class, we'll be looking at principles of double entry, performance objectives. At the end of this class, students should be able to explain the rules of double entry and 2. Apply the rules of double entry. Next, rule of double entry bookkeeping. The principle states that for every debit entry, there must be a corresponding credit entry. And for every credit entry, there must be a corresponding debit entry. It is the foundation of bookkeeping. Let's do a brief reminder. Bookkeeping is the aspect of accounting that is involved in recording of transactions. Summary of principle, we can say debit, the receiver, and credit, the giver. The receiver is also the receiving account, and this is the giving account. History background of double entry. The recording of transactions in books of accounts, that is bookkeeping, in line with double entry principles, dates back to the 14th century when Italian merchants began to use the double entry system to record their transactions. The earliest known double entry records are the accounts of stewards of the Commune of Genoa for the year 1340. An Italian monk, Luca Pacioli, published the first known text on double entry accounting. In his book, Summa di Arithmetica, Geometria, Proportione, et Proportionalita, meaning everything about arithmetic, geometric, and proportion, published in 1494. He included a section on double entry accounting entitled The Computis et Scripture. The double entry system quickly spread across Europe, particularly after the publication of Luca Pacioli's Summa. Due to this Italian origin, the double entry system in those days was known as the Italian method. For the purpose of easy understanding, the procedures involved in double entry is listed below. A. The keeping of books of accounts. B. The division of each book into separate accounts. For example, we can have motor vehicle accounts, the creditor's accounts. So these are debits and these are credits. The division of each book into separate accounts. So this is the division into separate accounts. Here we have divided the accounts to debit and credit. C. Each account is divided into halves. That's left-hand side debit, as we have seen here, and the right-hand side credit. All transactions must be recorded in two accounts. One account is debited and another account is credited. For example, cash sales. So the two accounts involved in this case here, this will be our cash book, and then this will be our sales day book. So the rule says the left-hand side is our debit and the right-hand side is our credit. Likewise, we'll do the same for cash book. The left-hand side is our debit and the right-hand side is our credit. For example, cash sales of 1,000 was made. To effect D, all transactions must be recorded in two accounts. One account is debited and the other account is credited. How do we reflect this? We come here, cash sales. Who is receiving? We debit the receiver, and the receiver here is cash. So the opposite of cash now will be sales. And then we'll go to sales. The opposite of cash is sales. Sales is the giving account and cash book is the receiving account. 1,000. All transactions must be recorded in two accounts. We have done that here. Cash book, sales day book. These are the two accounts. And one account is debited and another account is credited. Here we debited the cash book and we credited the sales day book. Why? Because the cash book is the receiving account and the sales day book is the giving account. Next, we go to E. The giver, which is the giving account, is credited with the value of whatever it receives, and the receiver which is the receiving account, is debited with the same value, which we clearly did here. Cash book was the receiving account, so we debited it with the value of 1,000. And here, sales day book is the giving account, and we credited it with 1,000. Next, we look at cash and credit transactions. In financial accounting, transactions may be classified into two, which are cash and credit transactions. In cash transactions, the buyers pay immediately for goods bought. Here, no account will be opened in respect of a supplier or customer. Steps in recording cash transactions. A. Prepare two accounts. Identify the giving account and the receiving account. Now apply the principle: credit the giver and debit the receiver. Note: all cash transactions must pass through the cash book. For example, on the 23rd of July 2016, cash sales of 10,000 was made. Credit transactions. The majority of commercial transactions are term credit transactions, which means that the transfer of ownership takes place before payment to the supplier. That is, settlement is deferred to a future date. E.g., Mr. Femi bought goods, but he did not pay until 3 months later. This is quite different from the example we gave for cash transactions. In cash transactions, cash is paid immediately for goods bought. But in credit transactions, goods are transferred, ownership is given to the buyer before payment is made. Steps in recording credit transactions. A. Prepare daybooks. There are several types of daybooks, and one, we have the sales daybook, we have the purchases daybook, we have the returns daybook. So in returns daybook, we can have return inwards daybook, can be a return inwards daybook or outwards, and we have the journal proper. B. Prepare two accounts, like in the earlier illustrations where we had a cash book and then a sales daybook. Prepare two accounts. C. Identify the giving account and the receiving account. Apply the principle of double entry. Debit the receiver and credit the giver. For easy understanding, the following must be memorized. A debit entry represents 1. An increase in the value of assets. 2. A decrease in the amount of a liability or capital. 3. An item of expenditure or expense. A credit entry represents a decrease in the value of assets. A credit entry means that the account is given, so that's why there is a reduction in the value of assets. An increase in the value of a liability or capital, or an item of income or gain. It's advised that students should go over these principles and have it at their fingertips for easy application.